Welcome to Thought Crime and Keto Crime, where Tracy does the sleuthing so you don't have to.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Thought Crime and Keto and Crime. As promised, my analysis of the AVOW, Another Voice of Warning, LDS Prepper network site. You can find it at ldsavow.com if you want to check it out. You do have to pay for a membership to get really deep into the forums. A lot of the stuff that you are allowed to see for public consumption is pretty basic. But this was a website created by Christopher Parrott. It's been around for several years. It is a website where Chad Daybell, Melanie Gibb, Jason Mao, and Lori Vallow were all well known. In fact, if you get deep into these forums on here, like I said, I was able to find, I didn't want to pay for it, so I was able to get into some of the forums by virtue of screenshots that have been taken from the website over to message boards that just discuss the Vallow case in general. And you were able, if you do a search, you're able to find Chad Daybell's names hundreds of times. So basically, Chad Daybell was a celebrity of sorts on here, as was Jason Mao, Melanie Gibb, Lori Vallow. They were definitely many celebrities on here, and Parrott created this because he is a true believer that we are living in the end times, and this basically teaches you how to prepare for that. Now, by and large, I think with the current pandemic that's been upon us, we've discovered that keeping at least a month's worth of food and supplies around the house is just good practice for anyone. But these guys take it a step further than even your average preppers that just believe, some catastrophic something is coming. You watch Doomsday Preppers, you see that they're not necessarily religious, but they are preparing for something cataclysmic, and they'll have up to 6 months to a year's worth of food. Everything this is sort of along the same lines, except these people are exclusively LDS. They were created as LDS, but you do find people of other religions on here that also believe that the biblical end of times or the holy book end of times is coming, and that's essentially what it's for. Now, because I didn't want to pay to get into the deeper chasms of this, I couldn't really see how deeply ingrained perhaps Chad Daybell's particular brand of religion or the zombies and things like that were embedded on here, but I do know that his whole attitude about the end of the world being nigh and the LDS church being basically the saviors of this country, the ones to build New Jerusalem, prepare for Zion in Missouri, are the ones that attitude was very prevalent on this site. And you did have that Christopher Parrott, the creator of the site, supported Chad Daybell right up until the end when Tylee and JJ's bodies were found. In fact, a reporter by the name of Kim Powell, who I'm going to flip over here and show you her Facebook post, even right up until the end, he was supporting Chad Daybell. So as you can see here is Christopher Parrott's house. This is Kim Powell, a reporter that kind of went by there. She worked for the local CBS affiliate, and she was coming by to basically get a comment from him on what was going on. And this was on March 1st, long before the bodies were ever found. And he told her that day that Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow would be vindicated because they didn't hurt the children. So he was a vehement supporter of Chad Daybell, which shows just how much of a celebrity Chad Daybell was on his website. Furthermore, once the bodies were found, Chris Parrott did place a very well written letter on the AVOW network, basically disowning Chad Daybell, telling them that he was wrong, he was going to eat a lot of crow once the bodies were found. So we do know, as you can see here from Fox 13 in Salt Lake City, Utah, Parrott, as early as or as late as March, was still defending Chad Daybell. He said that lies had been posted on social media, called it the lamestream news. He promised all detail is coming. He only said this is an ugly, ugly, nasty, ugly custody case being driven by the grandma, referring to Charles Vallow's sister, Kay Woodcock, who was the biological grandmother of JJ. And of course, there was that whole issue about them, the ones starting the search for the children. and then later on the Charles life insurance being left to her and for the care of JJ instead of to Lori. So there was a lot of animosity between the Daybells and the Woodcocks, and so he's playing up on that. And then he was simply saying that it's a nasty, ugly custody case being driven by the Woodcocks. However, in June, after the discovery of the bodies at his home in Rigby, Idaho, which you saw earlier, he had drastically changed. He basically said, and I quote, "Obviously, Chad lied to us," referring to both him and his wife, Sue. Then later on, he did post the very long post on the AVOW network, basically saying he was going to be cooking up a steaming pot of crow because he was wrong about Chad Daybell, and Chad Daybell had lied to him. Now, also prominent on this website was author Julie Rowe, and I have actually exchanged an email or two with Miss Rowe, and me and her may be able to get together for a little chat in August. So if that happens, I'll definitely bring it to you. But she was also an avid supporter of Chad Daybell and his wife. She wrote several books, mostly about end of life experiences, near death experiences, which Chad Daybell's publishing company was all about. And she published a couple of books through Chad. She was especially vocal about the fact that when she met Chad, he and Tammy seemed very happy, that it was definitely a family-run business. In fact, Chad was still working as a grave digger when he was publishing her books and his books, and so she really felt he was a hard worker. And then later on, she actually came out in an interview, and said that she really felt that the children were still alive and that Chad would be vindicated. And then, of course, she's come out and also disavowed him, saying she didn't know Chad, she didn't understand Chad. Chad deceived her, but she always had a good working relationship with Chad. And to this day, she claims that she has from the other veil, on the other side of the veil, conversations with Tammy Daybell. She also says she sees Charles Vallow sitting in a dark place. So definitely a big believer in being able to reach across the veil. But she was nice enough to talk with me, and so hopefully I'll be able to interview her and ask any questions that you guys might want to know. So hopefully in August that will happen. Also another important part of the story is the connection between AVOW, Prepper Network, and Preparing a People, which was started by a couple by the name of Michael and Nancy James to be sort of I'm going to say, propaganda or PR arm of AVOW, even though there was no technical business relationship. The two actually post here on AVOW under the name Color My Media. So they were very much involved in AVOW, were very close with the Daybells, Lori Vallow, Melanie Gibb, the whole, Jason Mao, the whole 9 yards. And they actually started Prepare a People, where Vallow, Daybell, Gibb, and Mao were minor celebrities, and they put on, or actually major celebrities, they put on talks all over the country, basically preparing people for spiritual warfare as well as the end of the world through the Prepper Network. Now, I was able to find some more information about Jason Mao. Now, Jason Mao, as we actually listened to a podcast that he did with Melanie Gibb and Lori Vallow. Come to find out, he's actually the one that sealed Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow even before their own. Well, they both still had living spouses, so we know he's not exactly on the up and up. And also, I found out there was a little bit of fishiness around his wonderful redemption story of being an injured police officer. I mean, he is a highly decorated paratrooper. We do know that, but he also served in 2 Arizona police departments. First at Chandler, he was actually part of a public inquiry and a private police department inquiry from their board of ethics, along with another police officer by the name of Dixon. Dixon had been convicted or accused of trying to ask a woman out during a traffic stop, and she reported this, and that was up for inquiry. And Jason Mao kind of got brought into it because He was supposedly wrote up the report for it, and it was very short and sloppy. And they also went back and started digging into all his records and realized a lot of his reports weren't on the up and up. They were kind of sloppy. So they were preparing to basically probably remove him from service because of his sloppy police record, and he simply quit before that process could happen, and then was still able to get on with the Phoenix Police Department. And that, of course, is where he was supposedly injured through both of his hamstrings detached from his muscles, basically detached from the leg itself. Now, I looked this up. It's called avulsion, but even then, it takes quite a severe turn or quite a severe range of motion for that to happen, and usually it's only a piece or two of it, and it has varying rates of recovery. But the way he tells it, his hamstrings completely separated from his bones, and a lot of things I read that was kind of called into skeptical. So I'm not questioning that he was injured on the job. I am questioning the severity of the injury, and he had a pending lawsuit as early as 2017 against the Phoenix Police Department for that for failure to pay him for that injury, and them saying it was a pre-existing condition, as well as mental duress, PTSD, as a result of that injury. But ever since he left the police department, he's been married twice. I couldn't really find any records on either of his wives as to what's happened to them since, but ever since then, he has made his living with AVOW and with, most specifically, Preparing a People. He has a podcast on their network. He's written many, many books all about spiritual warfare. And he also does lecture tours and other things. He also serves as basically a field consultant for religiously themed books and movies. So we do know he served as a technical advisor for the movie Speak No Evil, which was about zombie kids. Zombie kids. So I'm beginning to wonder if this is not where Daybell got his ideas about zombie kids. I'm going to drop a clip from that movie right here.
You doing any drinking tonight?
What?
Any illegal drugs?
My daughter was taken from my home tonight!
You lost her out there! You lost her!
They're all gone. All the kids in the town are gone. Damn it, Dale! I need your help!
You're gonna get you to heaven.
Nobody's coming for us, are they?
Whoever does.
And here is the IMDb listing for Speak No Evil. Right here. 2013 movie. So this was way before the incidents of this happened, and around the time Mr. Daybell started bringing that into his theology. But you see here, Jason Mao played a police officer in the movie. He was also the technical and safety advisor. And he has no other entries, but he was, in fact, on the movie. So I'm beginning to wonder if perhaps this wasn't where, the zombie whole thing started to take form, is with this 2013 movie. I did not see Daybell listed as any sort of writer or, anything that this might have been just a movie he helped write. I didn't see that. So I can assume maybe the idea of zombies kind of got tipped off from this movie. Anyway. And finally, this brings us up to our good old friend, Melanie Gibb, who has been right in the thick of this from the beginning and basically remained a friend of Lori right up until the time that JJ and Tylee disappeared. In fact, her and her boyfriend had just visited right before both kids disappeared and sought no reason to actually alert the police. So, yeah. But she has finally written her official I no longer want to be associated with Lori Vallow or Chad Daybell letter, and she actually posted this on both AVOW as well as released it to most major news networks. Of course she did. So I'm going to take a minute and read some of that to you. This letter in its entirety is available in the East Idaho News, which has done a fabulous job of covering this case. 7 pages. It's posted on both AVOW and on East Idaho News. But I wanted to read the second paragraph of it to you because I think it's really demonstrative of the turn that she's taken and why she supported Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow so long. Second, I wanted to address something the Lord put on my heart when all of this happened to me. I began to see my pride in a way I might not have seen if it weren't for this great deception, embarrassment, and tragedy. The words that came to my mind, prepper pride. Now remember, they were both highly integrated into AVOW and preparing a people. We often think that just because we are aware that we are awake. This is not true. Many of us have partaken of others' experiences, but have not had these experiences ourselves. About 11 years ago, I had some beautiful spiritual experiences that led me to see a mighty change of heart. Upon awakening all of my pride, I was taught truth from error and could see all my sins. It was the most humbling experience of my life thus far. I tried teaching and telling everyone about these experiences, but most people didn't get it. I met Lori Vallow, and we seemed to have similar experiences. She was full of light and radiated a great love of the Lord, as I thought anyway. She shared as she would believe in her own way some sacred experiences she had. I believed her. She was just as enthusiastic as I was. She told me I was part of the 144,000. So they both had the spiritual awakening, thinking they were part of this 144,000 as written in Revelation. And so was she, and it was part of her commission to help others become part of it as well. There were some deceptions I had, which I did not understand at the time, that were from Satan. Chad and Lori met, and Chad seemed to have all the answers she was desiring. She had learned about multiple probations from the internet and really believed she was married to Moroni. And Moroni is basically who the Book of Mormon is named after. He was an angel that kind of delivered the tablets to Joseph Smith and gave him the crystals where he could read it, la, la, la. She heard him talk often, according to Laurie. Chad informed her that she had been married to him before. Chad also informed her that they had been married multiple times, one being when he was James, the less from the Bible. He told Laurie they were each other's favorites. So basically what Melanie is saying here is that it was her pride in being a prepper and really believing that these people that claim to be, highly placed in the Lord's plan and the 144,000, that they would never do anything as vile as what they were being accused of. All right. So later on down into the letter, she states, as Charles, which is referring to Charles Vallow, Lori's husband at the time, as Charles was supposed to die, according to the visions Lori had of him dying, she was greatly disappointed when he didn't. Chad and Lori were so anxious to be together that Chad devised a plan and called Lori to let her know that Charles was taken over by an unclean spirit and was no longer Charles, or a zombie. These unclean spirits would later be called zombies. I was there when this happened, and Lori seemed a little overwhelmed by this idea, but she wanted to believe Chad. Now I want to share with you what the Lord taught me after my disconnection from them. He seemed to teach me that when we really want something so badly is when Satan comes knocking. Some of us want to see the Lord, some of us want vision, some of us want to be important and to awaken others. This is where Satan tries us, and the Lord allows it because of agency. He wants us to learn for ourselves and how to discern good from evil. One of the major techniques of the devil is to cause human beings to think that they were following God's ways, which in reality they are deceived by the devil to follow other paths. So she's basically taking responsibility, yet not taking responsibility. She's doffing all this off on Satan and saying that she was deceived. Now, as a person that's not religious, I say, girl, you got to do better than that. You were wrong. Admit that. Admit you should have gone to the police a lot sooner. And I'm really interested to see what kind of plan or what kind of deal she's cut with the police, because I'm sure she has. With everything that she knew and didn't report, she's got to be caught up in this a lot more than we really know. So I'm pretty sure she's cut some sort of sweet deal. I've skipped to the last page of the letter. My heart is so broken because of what happened to all those who were murdered and those who I once called my friends. I've forgiven all. Well, we're really grateful you've forgiven them all, Melanie, because I know this was Satan's work, and God took all hatred and evil out of my heart years ago when he changed my heart and gave me a new one. Well, he must have been refurbished, girl. I cannot begin to understand all the pain the family members have suffered who lost their loved ones. I know it has affected me forever, and I will never forget it. Well, thanks, girl. That makes us feel a whole lot better. Anyway, I'm just interested to see what part she plays in the trial and the investigation. And with that, that concludes kind of my in-depth scraping into AVOW and preparing a people, kind of how all this started to come together. You see basically some minor celebrities that basically developed sort of a cult based in this website and in the podcast that were part of the Preparing a People network, and how they could do no wrong in those people's eyes, and it led to all this, and how unchecked insanity kind of became a mutual insanity and led to the terrible tragedy that we're watching unfold before us now. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I'll be back soon with the final book in the Daybell Apocalyptic series, and then I'll finally be moving on to another case. I'm going to take on the Christchurch shooter, so that will be in some of the books that inspired him, supposedly. So I'm going to be digging into that, as well as a couple of white-collar crime. And I'll always come back to the Lori Vallow case as more unfolds and I learn more. But I really appreciate you all hanging around. I appreciate all the new subscribers. If you'd like to support the channel, those links are down below. Otherwise, just hit the like for that YouTube algorithm. Thanks so much, guys. And until next time, Keto Comic.